Hello, everyone. This is my reading list for February. Unfortunately, it's going to be a very short one. Not able to read necessarily a lot of books, a bit behind on my game here. But the first up is Crystal Palaces Garden Conservatories of the United States. And this is a fascinating book full of a lot of beautiful, artful pictures, but also about exactly how difficult it can be to create these sort of artificial biomes and create multiple artificial biomes within a building, and the sheer expense that has to be paid. And I didn't know this, although I should have, because museums are like this. There's a lot of research centers actually out of museums. And it's the same way with garden conservatories, or what we used to call sort of greenhouses. It's unfortunate though, because they're expensive and they're very easily damaged because the glass in a lot of them is not normal glass. It has to be calibrated for the type of UV light and everything like that. It has to be made of specific textures that don't fog. And a lot of it isn't real, like traditional glass per se. So once if there's damage from a storm such as a tornado, not only is it expensive and you can't repair it, winter will come and just utterly obliterate the plants in there before you actually have a chance to get a crew out to repair the stuff, especially because it's custom stuff. So it takes a while to get there. The Atlanta Ripper. I had never heard of this murder case before, the Atlanta Ripper. Now that I have heard of it, of course, it's very interesting. And there's actually debate as to whether or not there is one Atlanta Ripper. Serial killers tend to have a definite modus operandi, and this particular killer didn't seem to have that. So it's hard to say how many of the murders that took place around this time could be attributable to one culprit. A fascinating read and a little known part of history. I know I'm into murder and mayhem. Coatesville and the lynching of Zachariah Walker. Death in a Pennsylvania steel town. So the lynching of Zachariah Walker is notable for a couple of reasons. Happening in the north, in a steel town, there was a public backlash that resulted in dozens of trials. Of course, unfortunately, no convictions. But also what made it a bit unique is so many people that were willing to try to testify and put the murderer of Walker behind bars, because Zachariah Walker, unlike some people who were lynched that were genuinely innocent, Zachariah Walker was a bit of a ne'er-do-well. He did, he would pack a gun. He would fire it off at immigrants, although many people say he just was doing that as an intimidation thing. And he did kill a police officer. The myth and madness of Ophelia. So Ophelia has become kind of, I would argue, the most popular heroine of a Shakespeare play. For those of you who don't know, Hamlet is Ophelia's is the work Ophelia appears in, and it is very interesting that psychologically she takes up a lot of time, or she takes up a lot of analysis despite not having a lot of lines. And what's maybe a bit more interesting is that she can be played in multiple ways. Mad from the get-go, going mad, and of course being, turned mad by maybe the death of her father. And of course the gruesome scene in Hamlet where, she gets knocked out of the casket and onto the ground. Also, what makes her interesting is that it can be played in multiple ways, so is to leave the audience guessing, is she in with Hamlet all the time on this stuff? And her definitive action, if you will, isn't in the play itself, it's just mentioned, and of course, that's her death. Interesting choice to make somebody's most pivotal moment a sort of just a so-say, somebody comes on and tells you what happened to that character. This could be done for multiple reasons. One is practicality. I don't know necessarily how you do a drowning sequence on a stage. And for that matter, in addition to not knowing, how you would do a drowning moment on a stage, it's not that unusual if we look at other Shakespeare characters that are just mentioned. So, a fascinating read, and actually a very slim read, including a lot of artistic depictions of Ophelia. I would say this is almost perfect for somebody who's getting on a plane or whatever, or on a bus, is going to have just a few hours to kill, because you can get through it in just a couple of hours. At its heart, it's just a collection of, I think, up to 4 essays about this character.